All right, questions for Duce? We'll start with Chris over here on your left.
What is it that you're trying to be better at this year versus what you were last season?
Yeah, I think the biggest parts of me coming back were when I got feedback, from the league, and they told me the stuff I needed to work on. It was very fixable stuff. It's stuff like blocking, showing that I can be a more willing blocker, showing that I can play without the ball in my hands. It's being a little more consistent at the catch point, a little bit more confident at the catch point. I think everyone knows it's no secret that I bobbled some balls last year, some balls that I should have had, and so I need to hone that in a little bit better, and then just get it in and out of my routes, being a bigger receiver, being a bigger guy. That's something you can always work on, no matter how good you get at it. No matter how quick you might be in and out of it, you're never gonna move like a small guy. Just working on that. But ultimately, I'm back because I wanna show the fans that they can have something to root for. They've given so much to me. I want to give something back to them.
All right, we'll go to Ira, second row on your right.
Coach Ravel was saying that you guys had some shot plays today. What are you seeing so far from the relationship between? I know you guys have been throwing during the time off too, but like the quarterbacks and the receivers.
Yeah, we've been throwing for a while, but it's a lot different when you get a defense out in front of you. The quarterbacks look really good. They look really confident. They're throwing some really good balls at all three levels. Deep, intermediate, short. We've got some dudes in that room, and so first day, you're gonna hit some, you're gonna miss some, but that's why we're here. That's why we have spring ball. I expect them to get better each and every day, and I'm excited to see what we can keep doing with them.
All right, we'll come over to Peter, second row on your left.
Duce, obviously you're viewed as a leader with the Florida State team. With your own words, what would you tell, or how you describe what's the true definition of a leader in your words?
Yeah, I think a leader is someone who can bring guys up with him. A leader's a guy who you can look to in times of good and bad. They're always going to set the example, but they're not only going to set the example, they're also going to bring the guys surrounding them with them. They're gonna get the best out of everyone around them, and so that's something I've really been trying to challenge myself with this year, because being a second-year guy in this system, there's not a ton of us. We have 50 or 60 new guys in the program this year, and even more guys who had just gotten here, in the summer last year or in the winter last year when I got here, and so. I'm trying to just knowing the system, knowing what to expect. I've really been trying to challenge myself to not only push myself but also push other guys around me.
All right, we'll go across to Corey on the right.
When you got to USC, were there older guys in that room that helped you to? Because you played as a freshman, maybe not as much as you want, but you played and produced. And I wonder if you took anything from your freshman year dealing with older guys or coaches that now you can instill in these younger guys that are trying to get on the field. Because you got a lot of young guys that probably will play this year at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, absolutely. I backed up Brendan Rice. I had a guy, Kyron Hudson, who was at Penn State this year. Taj Washington, who's on the Dolphins. Like, when I came into SC, I had some great guys surrounding me, both in the room and out of the room. I had Caleb. I had some fantastic football players who I was really lucky to play with. And they were great on the field, but they were also great off the field. They showed me what life was like to be, a really good football player, but also be a really good human, and to get the best out of the guys surrounding you. So, I'm eternally grateful for the guys that I was able to learn from, my freshman and sophomore year, honestly, because I was really fortunate. I was really blessed with those guys, and now I'm just trying to take the lessons they instilled in me when I was a young receiver, and I'm trying to teach it to the guys now.
Were Branch and Lemon both in that room too with you?
Yeah, it's wild. So the class I came in with, it was me, Zach Branch, Makai Lemon, and Jacoby Lane. I'm the only guy left in college after our third year. I'm the only guy left in college, and so it was like that. That was a fun room to be a part of. That it was a crazy class to be a part of. You know, it's going to be one of those things that you look back on in 10 years, and you know, Lord willing, if we're all able to do what I know we can do, you know, it's gonna be one of those things where you look at it and you're like, goodness gracious.
Anything else? All right.
Coach Norvell was telling a story the other day about how you there was I guess a practice or meeting where you told him you didn't like the answer somebody gave, and he kind of basically put it on you to address it. Is that something that maybe was harder to do in your first year, but now you kind of year in the program, or were you doing that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely harder last year because I was new with all those guys too. There was so many guys who, you know, I'm coming into a system that I don't know. I'm coming into an environment I don't know, a town I don't know. I'm across the country. You know, I'm literally as far away from my family as I could be. I'm as far away from anything familiar as I could be. So I was just trying to figure it all out myself. But you know, now that I've been here for a year, now that I know everything to expect, I know, you know, I know what lift we're gonna be doing. I know what practice is gonna look like. I know, you know, what recovery I need to do. I know my body better. I know what I need and what I don't need. It's much easier to, you know, bring guys up around me because I'm much more confident in myself. And Coach Norvell always says it, but like, it can be a coach-inspired team. Like, good teams are coach-inspired teams, or good teams are coach-led teams. Great teams are coach-inspired, player-led teams. And so that's something that I've been trying to, you know, I've been trying to live by because, you know, you hear about all these great teams of the past. You know, you hear of the legendary teams that like the 2013 team, right? Like, you hear about all these, when my dad was here, he tells me like, all those guys, all the leaders on that team were just dogs. You know, they weren't scared to call people up with them. It's not calling people out, it's calling people up. And so I think that's kind of what you need. You need accountability from your leaders. It can't just be accountability from your coaches, because you know they're a lot more willing to listen to guys around them than when you're, you know, listening to your superiors all the time.
We'll go to
So the defensive coaches were saying that, talking about their corners that came in, the transfers, and the DBs, the transfer DBs, that they're football players. Have you sensed that? Like, can you sense that group of what they bring in terms of just football knowledge and kind of mentality?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think every guy we brought in is an absolute gamer. You know, I got a little taste of it today, and I'm really excited to keep going through spring to see what they can do, because you know, I think we've got some really good football players, and some guys who are really going to contribute. And I'm also really excited to see the growth of the guys we do have here, because you know, I think we've brought some really talented guys back, some really good guys back, some guys who are going to challenge me every single day, and hopefully I'll challenge them every single day. And so, you know, overall in that DB room, you know, I think there's a plethora of talent. There's so much potential, and I'm really fortunate to be able to go against those guys every day.
All right, we'll go to Aslan in the back right.
I know there's only so many routes you could run as a wide receiver, but is there anything that Coach Norvell wants to do that, you know, is going to be different that you think might fit you and this team overall better?
Yeah, you know, I think Coach Norvell's scheme is pretty similar to Coach Malzahn's scheme. Obviously, he comes from the same family, as well as Coach Harris. You know, I think you know, both of those guys stemming from Coach Malzahn's, you know, family tree is it lends towards a pretty similar offense. You know, I think Coach Norvell does a little bit more in the RPO game, and you know, he's gonna move us around probably a little bit more. And so I'm really excited at the potential of that, because you know, I want to show that I can be, you know, versatile in my game. I want to show that I can be more than just a boundary guy. And so, you know, I'm really excited to be a part of Coach Norvell's offense. Coach Malzahn is one of the greatest coaches of all time, and I'll forever be, like, I'll eternally be grateful to play for him. But yeah, I'm really excited to be able to play for Coach Norvell and Coach Harris, because I think they're going to be absolutely fantastic play callers.
All right, we'll come up here front for Brendan.
When you talked about some of the different leadership, I guess, approaches that you've had, and like learning like from Dad and what some of the older teams were like, or talking to Coach Norvell about his mindset of leading, I guess, do you have to like prepare yourself going into a workout, like, hey, I not only have to take care of my own stuff, but I'm gonna have to talk to players too? Do you reflect on at the end of the day, did I do the most? Like, so how do you think about leadership, I guess, in doing that, like a day-to-day approach?
Yeah, you know, I think it's something that you have to grow into. It's something that it doesn't come easy every single day. Some days are definitely easier than others. Some days when it sucks and you're in a bad mood and all you want to do is just stay in your shell and survive through a workout. Like, all you want to do is just stay to yourself. But I think in those days, it's the ultimate character of a man is going to be shown in the bad days. It's not going to be shown in the good days. And so, you know, I think it's in those days that you really have to challenge yourself, that I really have to challenge myself to, you know, stay consistent, stay true, stay, you know, trying to be, you know, one of the leaders of this football team. Because, you know, when we get to Saturday and if things are, you know, we're going to face adversity in a game. And if I want to be one of the playmakers, if I want to be one of the guys that people are going to look to in adversity, you know, that starts now. That's not something that's going to start just on Saturday. It's something that's going to be instilled in winter workouts and in spring ball, and, you know, once we get to summer workouts and through fall camp. Like, all of that is just building us towards, or you know, building us and building me towards being able to be a leader, you know, once Saturday rolls around.
All right, we'll stay here for Chris.
Tae'Shaun is a bigger guy, and you've been with him for the last 14, 15 months now. How have you seen him grow, and what impresses you about his skill set at the receiver position?
Tae's gonna be an absolute dog. You know, I think he's gotten, you know, he's gotten a lot more athletic. He's gotten stronger since being here, and you know, he's learning how to use his body. I think that was probably one of the biggest things when he came in was just figuring out, you know, exactly how big he was and how he can use that to his advantage. But I think that's something that he's done a really good job of, you know, throughout last season and then throughout this off season. He's done a really good job of figuring it out. And even today, he made a couple plays where it's just like, you're not making that if you're not, you know, his size. And so I think that's something he's going to continue to grow upon. He's going to continue to polish up his routes, which have gotten a lot better. And he's just going to continue to make plays. And I'm really excited to see what he's going to keep doing.
All right, last one's gonna be Ira over on your right.
This time a year ago, you guys were so excited about Javen and what his potential could be last season, and I know he had injuries and just things didn't work out the way he was hoping. And then he went in the portal and he came back. Like, where's he at now? Like, where have you seen him grow over the last year?
Yeah, he's in the same boat. Like, he's gonna be an absolute dude. Like, he's a guy who, he's just so smooth through his routes. He's so consistent. He's so confident at the catch point. He's one of those guys he's just a natural playmaker. He's a natural receiver. You know, I think he's cleaned up a lot of things in terms of, like, this is the best shape he's been in. This is, you know, the most smooth his routes have looked. This is the easiest he's been getting in and out of routes. And, you know, he's absolutely bought into being, you know, the best player, the best teammate that Florida State can have. And so, you know, he's another guy who we're gonna need him this year. And I'm really, really excited to see what he's gonna do, because he has, you know, all the potential in the world. He can be as good as he wants to be.
All right, thank you, Duce.
Thanks,
I appreciate it.